Hey, what's up everyone? Frank Valkyria, welcome to the channel. If you're new, probably you're wondering, I wasn't like this yesterday. So we are going through a transitional moment also for fun. Anyway, before, like today, before I post other reaction videos, you know that every now and then I also like to talk about the news and what's going on. I cannot say too many words about what we go through or use that word, use that phrase, because otherwise, no money, no soldo. Not that, you know, it's gonna make a lot of money this video, probably 23 cents if it gets to 500 views. But anyway, I just want to go over a little bit the news, and because there are some which they are kind of like scratching, and some hopeful. So anyway, let's start right away here. I got some page here. You're seeing Science and Research. We have the Skrilly guy, the pharma bro right here, that he wants to get out of prison to research what's going on right now. What a guy, huh? What a guy. What a good Samaritan that he wants to research this whole thing. Maybe because he really feels like the regret of what he did last time to hike the price of a medicine that people really relied on for survival. Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, here we go. You remember he gained notoriety by buying the rights to a life-saving drug, and he rose the price from $13.50 to $750 for pill. And now this guy, of course, has spent some time in, I don't know, do you think it's like having some kind of like repent type of moments? Probably not. Everybody tries to use this thing for their own gain. I think even that singer that, what's his name? The singer that recently got in jail, he also has to get out. What's his name? I believe I Can Fly guy. Anyway, I don't remember. Another thing that I am also interested in seeing is that it seems like that there is a new vaccine on the horizon. And of course, there's always a lot of people. I have also some friends, honestly, which they're against vaccination. And they believe also a little bit into this conspiratorial type of behavior of the big elite, that they want to inoculate us with strange stuff so that they can control us. I honestly think this is misinformation. I don't know exactly what's going on with Bill and Melinda Gates, but I know that they're doing now entering human testing for what we're going through in this period. So this is another vaccine, and I feel hopeful. I feel hopeful. I personally think that, you know, science and medicine is the reason why we have also the good part of the society where we are today. I'm not necessarily an advocate of get as many vaccines as you can, because I'm sure there is a lot of things which they also marketed for, to make money. It's a business. But the basic stuff that has propelled humanity forward, that has saved millions of lives, then, you know, like it's those things are undeniable. So I'm actually very curious to see this phase 1 clinical human trial testing, and I just really hope that it goes to fruition. I get back to this in a second, because I also feel like in a more comedic sense we're going to talk about that. I'm also I have some reserves. I also see that the numbers in the US, the estimate seems to be the projection of you know what is happening, especially related to death. They suggesting that there will be much less than the first time they estimated it, which I think is also good news. And also in Italy, despite the number still being a lot, every number of death, it's a lot. But anyway, like it seems the numbers, they're declining, showing some positive effect of social distancing and quarantine. So that it's encouraging. There are few mysteries which I still don't know exactly what's going on. Yesterday, Japan, declared the state of emergency. We haven't heard in Japan for a while. The numbers seem to be stable, and all of a sudden they went to 4,000, and then immediately the state went in the state of emergency. The prime minister gave like panned or whatever, approved the biggest package for support the economy in this period of actually almost 1 trillion, which is the biggest in proportion to the populations and what what they make annually. So that's pretty impressive. And again, we know that there is also that other vaccine that they're working in the States already. What was the university again? I forgot. But so there's going to be a couple of those vaccines which they're entering phase 1 of human trial, and it's promising. And we also see that ironically the prime minister of the UK, it's been treated in intensive care, and this is already the second day he's in intensive care, and he's on a hated ventilation respirators. He's using let's say what it says here. Obviously, some people might be cheering because his response in the beginning to the crisis was quite criticized and harshed. He said, if I'm not mistaken, I paraphrase him, like, prepared to lose loved ones, and he got infected, and now he's also developing, let's say, more serious symptoms. Obviously, he's a human being, and we wish him like to recover quickly. But yeah, this also shows how incredibly, like how puts everything into perspective, this whole thing. I also want to show you, like, let's do one thing at a time. Puts everything into perspective in the way that, it just gets everyone. It just gets everyone. And it's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call for all of us, especially for after. Now we are in a crucial moment also. I have that sense of experiencing this crucial moment where also people like speeding up the research, the way we do research and the way we test things. We are in a critical point because it feels that this is the very moment where real zombies can be created. And of course, I'm saying this a little bit with a comedic tone, but it really feels like you're in a movie. We have a pandemic, we have this thing that we're going through, which is just affecting everyone, making even the politician affected, which usually it's never the case in the way, like in between wars and economical crisis, mostly are always the let's say normal people, which are affected the most. And this thing that has no borders, doesn't know ethnicities or whatever, just strikes everyone. And you get prime ministers. In this case, I assume it's the first prime minister, or there was also an official in Iran that was affected. If I'm not mistaken, there were also other officials of government which they were affected or infected. Sorry. So it really shows a completely different picture now, and you go like, wow. This is equality for you. We are really in this together, and you really realize how also connected and equal we are, because this thing just goes to everyone and every place. But it's also the moment where if we speed up too much, trialing and testing on humans, vaccines that perhaps are not fully developed, we might all of a sudden transform into zombies. I can already envision Resident Evil type of scenarios where we do something wrong somewhere and then it gets even worse. There is like a combination of mutations, and all of a sudden the first infected people, they're gonna go crazy and hungry for whatever and start to slaughter one another. And I know it sounds like a bad scenario of a B movie, and again, I'm joking, don't take me seriously, but you ponder, this really looks like the beginning of a movie here, an horror movie I don't want to be in, even though it's pretty much already quite an horror movie, because if this thing keeps going this way, the effect that it's going to have on economy is going to be it's just atrocious for a lot of people. So this really, it's going to show also how do we get back on our feet afterwards, you know? So if you see the example of Japan that is sending a clear signal that they really want to support their economy, that's probably something that also the US has to do. And also here in the Netherlands, now they're giving some help, but I don't think it's nearly enough for a lot of businesses, and especially if it keeps going for more than a month. So the word is to sort of also unite in that way to try to figure out how we keep walking after this. So there is going to also be scary and interesting to see. So I really hope that we get more good news. I really hope that we are entering a phase of decline in terms of curve. I really hope people are understanding also the social distancing does work. I've seen a news here somewhere that in Wuhan they're opening for the first time. They're opening to people to also leave the city, which is great. Let's see the top stories here. What do they say? Because I was just reading this article before. Here we go. China, Wuhan ends its coronavirus lockdown, but elsewhere one begins. So, yeah, I don't know if he's referring to China itself or the rest of the world, because obviously the rest of the world, we are going through like gigantic numbers. Now the States is the one more affected. The States is also, let's say, pointing the finger at China, saying that they're not declaring the right numbers. And go figure. The good news, though, is that in China, what they did, the approach of immediately shutting down everything, has worked. And the infections are lower. And now they finally, as you can see, they can start to slowly get back to a normal life. But this has taken already 4 months. And I don't think there is an entire, I don't think it's completely back to normal. So there's just people being able to leave the city. But I don't know if restaurants and cafe and bars are open. Some 55,000 people were expected to leave Wuhan by train on Wednesday. By early morning, more than 10,000 had left by plane, an airport official said. Flight to Beijing and international location have not resumed. Wow. This is both interesting and scary because, of course, if everybody has developed immunity of the people which perhaps had the virus or people, not having it, so it shouldn't be a risk of contamination again or another wave. Obviously, if there are still cases around which they get in contact with other unaffected people, then there's also a chance, and this I'm saying it, I'm not a professional or anything, I'm just saying this could lead to another wave. So this is also going to be strange to witness. And going back to Japan, we haven't heard in a while, and then all of a sudden they declare state of emergency. Sweden is still everything open. The number more or less they seem growing at the same rate as other countries. If I'm not mistaken, the number of infected people were past the 7,000. The mortality more or less was in line with other countries of their size, but will be interesting, so to speak, to see if this approach they're using of basically leaving everything like the way it was and just telling old people to stay in is going to work better or worse than other places. Here they're using a sort of intelligent method, so to speak. It was rebranded by also some people, I don't know if in a more ironic way or mocking way, but here, only restaurants and big places are closed and cafes. Most shops are open. People are walking around. And it's also strange because in the last week I noticed that because it's been very warm here, and Dutch people love good weather, of course, because this is a very rainy country. So when the days are good, people just feel compelled to get out. And I saw pictures of the Fondle Park here, which was just crowded with people. And the Prime Minister or whoever it was of officials said, please don't do picnics, don't go on unnecessary excursion or holiday kind of vibe to the beach. You know, try to stay home and don't crowd places. And the park was just packed, and even under my house there's traffic of cars, people walking more than last week, as if now all of a sudden like things have changed. So that worries me a little bit, because I really believe that this thing, it could be just destroyed by being a month and a half in the house or something, or 2 months, and then it just stops, you know, just stops spreading and just dies, you know. And when we start to behave like this, and there is a chance that, you know, we don't follow rules very well, we start to get too close, then we're just going to postpone this date where we can go back, or at least pick up from where we left and try to live a different life, or trying to put the piece together of what it's left, and see how we can make it better, how we can move forward. So anyway, this is just a little bit of random collection of going through some news. I thought let's do something different for a change. We can do this every day if you feel, or every other day, especially now that you guys are home. So I kind of enjoy talking and ranting and so on and so forth. So yeah, always spread love, be careful, take your distance, you know, take care of yourself, and remember that we are in this together. Never before we have to be reminded that we are truly in this together with this invisible enemy, and we have to try to be the best we can be, especially afterwards. So see you later, take good care.